Welcome to C60 Health Connections, where we meet with leading experts in the health and wellness space. On today's show, we are going to deep dive into men's health issues with Jay Campbell, a former physique competitor, international best-selling author of the Testosterone Optimization Theory Bible, aka TOT. He's a podcast host, a speaker, a biohacker. He's passionate about helping people raise their vibration and consciousness, and he has recently discovered a breakthrough secret to combat premature hair loss. Also on today's show, we have our friend Ken Swartz, a biogeochemist, research scientist, and founder and chief science officer at C60purplepower.com. Now, men's health issues affect all of us, even if you're not a man. If there's a man in your life that you love, a husband, a boyfriend, a brother, a father, a son, and they aren't feeling their best because of hormonal issues, well, those issues can impact everyone. So if hair loss, lack of energy or motivation, weight gain, a decrease in interest or desire is impacting you or the man in your life, well, stick around because today we're going to uncover some of those health issues that impact men at all ages and help you discover exactly what you can do about those issues today. My name is Jessica McNaughton, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer at C60 Purple Power. I am a businesswoman with years of experience in corporate America, and for the last 20 years, I have been exploring various modalities in health, wellness, and spirituality. Now, but before we get started, these statements and products and remedies discussed are not approved by the FDA. Anything discussed today on the show is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So with that, let's get started. Jay, Ken, thanks so much for joining me today.
An honor to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. So my first question, Jay, is for you. Will you tell us a little bit about your background and the work that you've done as an advocate, helping men understand how to get control of their hormones?
First, again, thank you guys for having me on the show today. It's always an honor when I get a chance to speak. It's a privilege, and in the spirit of gratitude, thank you. I was an ex-college and pro athlete and was still playing competitively into my late 20s, and I was kicked in the testicles playing in an adult men's basketball league, and, just went out, and about 5, 6, 7 weeks later, I started feeling run down. And I was very lucky. And obviously there are no coincidences in the universe. I was 1 month away from turning 30, and I went to my PPO doctor, and thank God. And it's amazing to think back in 1999, because even now doctors are utterly clueless about hormones and optimizing them for the most part. It's a very niche, specialized industry. He recommended me to an endocrinologist, and I ended up seeing like one of the world's leading guys, who was a Harvard educated guy by the name of Dr. Raymond Scruggs. His story is a whole separate story and a whole nother podcast, but he ran blood tests on me, and he said, look, man, you've got the testosterone levels of a geriatric male. He's like, I can absolutely reboot your testosterone and get you back to being as right as rain. I said, but go home, talk to your wife. I didn't have kids at the time, and see what she says. So, my wife knew that I was an educated guy, had a molecular biology minor in college, and she knew that I was really into my performance and my health. And she said, well, if you feel like it's worth it, then do it. So we did it. And, fast forward 6, 7 weeks later, I felt absolutely amazing. I mean, this guy was he really was like the leading guy probably in the entire world doing this clinically and, obviously in the context of health and safety. And, I went back in for my checkup, and he was like, okay, you ready to come off? And I was like, whoa, no, dude, I ain't coming off this. No way. Right. So fast forward from there, about 12, 13 years. And I made a lot of friends in my industry, which I was in the digital automotive space. And, whenever people would meet me, they're like, dude, your energy, your exuberance, you're obviously fit. Like, what do you do? And I would always tell them, like, I use therapeutic testosterone. And they would even look at you like, steroids, or they would look at you like, tell me more. Right. So I got this reputation in my industry, amongst leading people, like that's the guy. And one of my good close friends, who also became a very prominent entrepreneur, was like, dude, you got to write a book about this. You know more about this than anybody. Right now, going back in the first 2 or 3 years that I was working under Dr. Scruggs, he realized that I understood this stuff at a really high level. And so he started asking me if I could help him consult with patients. It's a little known story. which I've very rarely have ever told anybody, especially on a podcast. But so I kind of was like getting involved into the science of this stuff. And so that kind of led me down this path where I started reading everything that was available. And there was, by the way, guys, nothing. There was books written for guys that were suffering from HIV to survive, to use testosterone. And then there was Russian and Bulgarian research texts that could not be translated for their athletes that were using therapeutic microdosages from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So there was nothing out there. This was all, you had to turn to the bodybuilding bro culture to find anything about like how to do this. And ultimately, there were very, very smart guys in that world. There still are some today, not as many, who were doing this for 30 or 40 years and obviously looked like gods and felt like gods and didn't, risk their health and didn't do anything stupid. And, it's important when you talk about therapeutic testosterone, you also segment it to understand that therapeutic testosterone and anabolic steroids are two separate things. This is like micro precise dosages for health and longevity versus super physiological levels for bodybuilding and performance enhancement and, muscle cartoon characters that, parade around in the magazines. So it's a huge difference. Unfortunately, the media, as you guys both know, is, glommed on the bad side, the left-hand side, and basically, said, oh, this is terrible and testosterone will do all these things and cause all these side effects or whatever. So since I published my first book, which I kind of skipped over the story, but it doesn't matter because I've told it too many times, which is in 2015. It should have come out in 2014. It came out in 2015 for other reasons. I've met all these amazing people, doctors, researchers, people like Ken. And, ultimately, I've become known as like one of the world's leading experts because I've written now 3 books on the topic. And the last 2 are still the leading selling books of all time on the topic, right? Like if you go on Amazon, the TOT Bible is, I think, 700 plus 5-star reviews. And, you can look it all up. It's the #1 selling book on therapeutic testosterone, right? And my first book before that, which was the original one in 2015, was the biggest selling before that. So flash forward, here we are today on your guys' show. I've written other books on health optimization, fasting. As Ken knows, I went to Peru in 2019 in July, and I came back like transformed to change my brand from that testosterone guy to the major vibration guy. And so kind of now, at this moment in time, and obviously it's Friday, May 28th. I always say that now because you never know when a podcast is going to run. Ken's podcast with me hasn't run yet. It's actually
2021.
Yeah. So, but in reality now I kind of look at myself as a master alchemist. I talk about spirituality. I talk about vibration. I talk about health optimization and even stuff in between, So, I obviously I have a very deep, resonant wisdom of learning that I've been doing for so long on all these various topics. And so it's like, today when people ask me about this kind of stuff, I kind of go into the whole spiritual side of things before I really get into the physiological part of things, because, if we want to go super deep, these are just physical avatars housing our spirits, right? So like what, our spirits control and what our spirits think is ultimately, how we live our lives. And, we can overcome any physical manifested disease state through a healthy, mind and body.
I love that you're focused on the mind, body, soul connection and leading with that now. That's really cool. So, we get men that were the age that you were, late 20s, early 30s, who, hear about C60's ability to help support libido and help balance hormones. But, a lot of them are hesitant to talk about what they're experiencing with friends or family members or even, peers. And so for the young men out there, and even for the men who aren't so young, who are just starting to realize, some of these hormone imbalances, where do you recommend that they start? What are some of the first steps that they should look for to understand kind of what's going on with their body, and where do they go for help? Should they start with your book and then find some local resources, or kind of walk us through your recommendation for your younger self?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first, let me take a step back. I am obviously a guy who's written books on how to utilize therapeutic testosterone, which I refer to as TOT, which you said very accurately, Jess, which is testosterone optimization therapy. It used to be TRT, which is testosterone replacement therapy, but who the hell wants to replace a level that's declining at, a geometric rate, at the age of 30 on, as you get older. So, we changed that acronym or that nomenclature to testosterone optimization therapy. But to your question, you said late 20s, early 30s. It's happening now in the late teens, early 20s.
Really?
Yes. It's so it's multifold, the causation. I mean, you're looking at, obviously you guys know, but the environment is contaminated beyond all comprehension. I mean, we are under siege from the endocrine disrupting chemicals, in the water, to the blue light that's radiating our bodies from our computers and our screens, to the navigation systems in our car. I mean, it's just biohazard, central. You can't get out of the way of stuff. So nowadays, younger men who are addicted to video games, right? They play video games 12 hours a day. They go from the video games to the screen, then they go to porn, whatever. They have so many screen addictions that they are rewiring their dopaminergic signaling pathways in their brain. So what ends up happening is they cannot get an erection. They're not physically attracted to, any, whether they're gay or straight, to the opposite sex that's somebody they're attracted to. And so now they go to doctors and the doctors look at their, their hormone levels and they're like, dude, you've got the hormone levels of a 90-year-old man. Okay. So to your question, the first step is absolutely self-awareness. Okay. I don't feel well. I have low energy. I have low libido. I have, brain fog. That's the number one symptom, by the way, of a testosterone deficiency is brain fog. You get to 2:00 in the afternoon and you're dead. You want to go home and take a nap. So, I always say, again, self-awareness, get a blood test. Don't need a doctor's prescription. You can go to any, especially in the United States, and even now in Canada, there's so many independent labs that you can go online to. It's like ordering a book on Amazon. I want to see my total testosterone, my free testosterone, and my sensitive estradiol. It costs me $50. And you order that. Then you go into LabCorp or private MD labs or whatever, direct labs, and you just hand off the thing. You've already paid for it. They're going to be like, can I see your insurance card? And you're just like, nope, not using insurance. Use this. And you hand it to them. And within 3 days, sometimes 5, depending on how many labs you pull, if you pull like inflammatory factors or something. I mean, I recommend a lot deeper, obviously, observation. And, I kind of think that you should get your labs done, depending on your age, at least once a year, starting at 30. But you don't have to. I mean, I haven't got my labs done since December of 2019, since the debacle of whatever the hell last year was, which now they're attempting to create further, it appears. But reality is the first step is getting your blood work, right? What gets measured gets tracked, understanding where you are. And then from there, depending on if you have a low, what I call a deficiency, there's a lot of natural adjuvants that you can add into your life. Obviously, you can clean up your diet. You can sleep better. You can use carbon 60. There's a lot of things that you can do, right, naturally to optimize low levels. The biggest issue, however, is if you're not like us and, anal retentive and like completely type A, it's hard because, again, the environmental war, everywhere we go. I mean, if you live in a large coastal population center and you don't have a filtration system in your house from the water that's coming on your shower, you're being destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't even talked to you, Ken, about this, but I drink deuterium depleted water now with, like what do you call it? A magnesium tablet, right? I don't drink anything else. Like I stopped drinking anything. And obviously I have Icelandic water, and this is what I use the deuterium depletion in, because Icelandic water previous to the deuterium depleted water being available was the lowest concentration of deuterium in water over the counter. And most filtration systems suck. But, to that point, imagine what's happening to you if you live in LA, New York, Miami, Seattle, and you don't have a filtration system, in your shower every day when you get under the water. I mean, it's going through your skin. So, I always say that, like, as you age, doing all the type A stuff is great, but the biggest tool in the tool belt is therapeutic testosterone. And obviously for women, there's other hormones that you can, supplement with, like, progesterone and estrogen. And women are a little bit more of a difficult symphony to optimize their hormones than men, but anyone can optimize their hormones. Mm-hmm. It's very, very simplistic process. Again, working with a physician who knows what the hell they're doing, which eliminates 95% of doctors.
Right. That's brilliant. So get your labs, make sure that you're drinking clean filtered water. And if you can afford one and have the means to do so, go out and get a filtration system in your house or in your apartment, and especially in your shower.
I mean, you can filter your shower for $150.
Mm-hmm.
You can get a really good Berkey filter. That's actually an article I probably should write, because I always talk about it. And then people say, well, what filter do you recommend? And I'm like, I don't have one. And then I say something, oh, well, you're affiliating for them. I'm like, no, I don't affiliate for any filter companies. But it's true. I mean, you can easily afford a filtration system for your shower if you're in a 1-bedroom apartment. Your house, you're probably going to pay about $2,000, $1,750 or something like that. But you need it.
Yep.
If you live out in the wilderness or Montana or the northern Colorado hills and you have underground springs, not as much. But those people are rare, more and more rare now.
Yeah. Ken, I'm going to pass it over to you. You've done a lot of research and work on men's hormonal health. Same question I asked Jay. What are some of the things people need to be aware of, and what are some of the first steps that you recommend people take when they start to notice like something might be off with their hormones?
Well, it's really the estrogen disrupting chemicals that are the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in so many plastics. They're just everywhere. And they're in the, even BPA and stuff in your cans. And the thing is, a lot of this stuff will build up in your bodies. And they basically what they do is they'll lock on to estrogen receptors. A lot of them will. And it takes a while for your body to get them off. So they're not, and another thing, one thing we mentioned is soy. Unfermented soy products. I mean, the whole thing that soy has these estrogen mimics, and they do it to get to mess up the insects with eat them, right? So insects have testosterone and estrogen, similar chemicals to them. They're biological organisms, and the soy produces these estrogen mimics, which basically jam up the estrogen ports on the cells, and of course prevent the insects from reproducing, so they don't eat more soy plants. But if you eat, if you're a tofu eater, you're going to have definitely problems with testosterone and estrogen balancing there. And so the number one thing you can really do is diet and purity of water. That's the first thing that you can do. And eat organic, because there are so many other pesticides and nasties in our environment today. You're not going to get rid of it all. That's never going to happen. But unless you're willing to step up to the plate and actually decide to take control of your health and your inputs in your body, then there's not a lot that can be done for you.
Exactly.
But that's the first step.
Become a scientist of your own health, exactly as Ken says. And I didn't say that, but obviously I totally agree with him. I would never recommend therapeutic testosterone until it was the last tool. And that you had optimized every other natural adjuvant, but nutrition, intermittent fasting, controlling the microbiome of the gut, reducing obviously systemic inflammation. Those are the first legs. That's what you have to look at. But again, so many people, and Ken, I think you and I talked about this on our podcast. The information that's coming out now about what they've done to people in the upper Midwest, in the fertilization parts of the world where, all the corn crops and all the GMO modified crops, these people were decimated. A lot of the people there, again, this is new stuff. The obese people are not obese because they're, slobs. They're literally obese because the chemicals from these, I can't even think of all the different atrazine and, glyphosate. It's stuck in the rinds of their visceral fat. And so it's causing an inflammatory response. So a lot of these people would not even be obese. And I'm not making an excuse and saying that they're not obviously cleaning up their diet, because I'm sure there's an issue there. But a lot of these people have these particulates stuck in them. So I can't even imagine, dude, how bad the upper Midwest is. These people are it's really bad. Really bad.
Because it's it's not just the glyphosate, it's the adjuvants they put in with the glyphosate that makes it 1,000 times worse. And then all the other things. And what it is that just overwhelms their livers. And one of the ways the body tries to fight the toxic burden is to dump it. The liver can't process it, so it dumps it into fat cells. And so that just stimulates the fat cells to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's a huge process. And
that's
really
exactly
people, you have to get the glyphosate out of and almost all grains are contaminated. They just don't use it on corn. They spray it on the wheat and oats and barley before they get harvested, so they die and have the same moisture thing. So actually you could buy Italian or Russian grains because they don't allow glyphosates and other nastiness on it.
It's incredible. I mean, anything. Yeah. I mean, you're right, man. I mean, you almost can't get anything that's not fresh caught, wild caught, or organic. And even that, I would argue that the stuff that's falling from the sky on top of that, I mean, how do you stop it at this point? It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's literally crazy.
Well, let's give some people, our audience, some real, practical things that they can do to start cleaning this up if this is of concern. Because, if you're a mom of a teenage boy who is, like you said, Jay, addicted to video games, and you're going from video games to social media to watching porn, and you want to kind of stop the madness. So let's dive into. You mentioned gut health and balancing out inflammation. Jay, do you want to tackle a little bit about gut health for us?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, the majority of people in America that are eating the foods that Ken was just talking about have inflammation in the gut. Okay. The microbiome brain is now probably, from a scientific angle, as important as this brain, right? Because it's processing the nutrients, the microcalories, the macro. I mean, everything that is coming through your mouth, okay, is obviously being dumped through the gut. So if the gut is not healthy and is obviously sensitive to all of these particulates and these allergens and these microbes and pathogens that are coming in from this god awful sprays of chemicals, you're, like Ken said, your liver's going to stop working or become completely dysregulated, and then you're going to get all sorts of problems, right? So majority of people today that have autoimmune disorders, it's because they have a bad gut. Their gut is not able to get rid of processing the that they're consuming. Yeah. Now, it's sad because if you don't have resources, financially able to purchase clean, organic, wild-caught, sustainable food, I mean, what are these people eating, right? They're eating, McDonald's, whatever they can get that's cheap and efficient and fast.
Yep.
So it's a nightmare. I normally tell people the first step is, again, to understand how infected your microbiome is. And a baby step is literally telling people to stop eating carbohydrates at 6 o'clock. Okay. That's like a baby step.
That's a really good practical tip.
Well, yeah. If you stop eating starches, and again, for really obese people, no carbohydrates, I would say fat and protein, carbon 60 thrown in with a good clean, casein and whey based protein powder. That's your answer. Obviously meats. But that's the first step. Most people who remove carbohydrates from their diet at 6 p.m. in 30 days literally lose anywhere from 6 to 8, sometimes even 10% of body fat, right? Because again, and I'll add something else to that. And I just did a podcast with a guy on this. Our bodies are not meant to be eating anything at sleep. Mm-hmm. You are supposed to literally go to sleep 3 hours after your last meal. Now, again, this is all based on circadian rhythm. It's all based on the cycles of the sun, blue light, the light that obviously comes up in the morning from red light, from early morning sun. So if you're laying there at 11 o'clock at night and you're a dude that just piled on, like a lot of these guys do this one meal a day thing, right?
Yeah.
And they eat at 9:30. They have fasted all day and they just ate 2,500 calories in one sitting at 9:30 and they go to bed an hour later. You're not sleeping. Your body is going through massive digestive disturbances, attempting to, emulsify and break down the food that you just ate. So if you really want to get dialed in, you stop carbohydrates at 6. And if you go to bed at 10:30, you're done eating by 7:30. You go to bed at 11, there's no food in your mouth at 8 o'clock. That's it. So, if you start observing that, I would just throw in the other thing that I would throw in, obviously, we're not talking supplements or drugs, which I could go really deep on, but just fast. Pick 2 days out a week where you don't eat for 18 hours. A lot of people, and this is geeky, but a lot of people are being told that, fasting is just not eating for 14 or 16 hours. And truthfully, if you're obese and you don't eat for 14 or 16 hours, yes, you'll see late weight loss. But actual fasting from a science standpoint is not until autophagy and hormesis is occurring.
Okay.
And autophagy and hormesis is occurring in all the studies at 18 hours.
Okay.
So if you don't eat for 18 hours and you do that a couple of days a week, That's going to massively improve your immune system. It's going to dramatically upregulate your mitochondrial function, which obviously, your mitochondrial, the more functioning they are. That's why I'm drinking deuterium depleted water. Ken can add to that. But the stronger your mitochondria, functioning as you age, the longer you're going to live. The better your cells are going to replicate, extend your telomeres, and obviously get rid of all the free oxy radical gunk that builds up in your system. So like step 1, don't eat carbs at 6 o'clock. Step 2, absolutely positively give yourself 3 hours before you go to sleep. And then step 3 would 2 days a week, do not eat for 18 hours. And I would say the easiest way to do that is literally just pick a weekend where you don't eat. You have a nice meal with family and friends on Friday night, and then you don't eat again until Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Or, you eat at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon at the barbecue with the family or whatever, because a lot of people say, oh, how are you going to do that? It's just not social. Well, you just don't eat on Saturday.
Yeah.
Drink water, but that will help people dramatically.
I think that's great advice.
Yeah. From a cleaning up your diet and cleaning up your lifestyle and changing from a cellular level, all the machinery that, goes haywire, that will help.
Yeah. Ken, I know you also utilize intermittent fasting quite frequently, but your strategy is a little bit different. Do you want to talk about your strategy?
Well, I'm on the 4 to 6 hour plan. So that's usually 20 hours to 18 hours of not eating.
Perfect.
Just pretty much every day. And of course, every now and then I'm bad. So sometimes I just go to the 1 meal a day makeup or no meal a day. Yep. So that's kind of it. And you're never going to be perfect at anything. No. So you just make it up later. It's not that hard. Yeah. Now, the thing about carbon 60 is the carbon molecules you can see behind me if you're not listening on a podcast. That's really good about the mitochondria function. Because one of the things as we age, and I'm in the gray-haired crowd now, is the larger cell provides most of the antioxidants for the mitochondria. In fact, all of them. And the biggest ones, and as we get older, a lot of those antioxidants go down, like especially SOD, superoxygen dismutase, which takes care of superoxygen, and catalase, which takes care of the hydrogen peroxide that's produced from that process. And you have glutathione and a couple others, CoQ10. But the SOD is really critical to the mitochondria. So when you take C60 is an SOD mimic, and it'll turn superoxygen directly back into oxygen and lower your oxidative burden by a huge amount. Because if you got superoxygen gets out too high, it's going to combine with nitrogen oxides to make peroxynitrate. And that's a pretty nasty one because it'll spread a lot further than other oxidative radicals. And so when you take C60, it restores your mitochondria function to a much higher level. And so you not only you get ATP production, which is the energy molecule of cell. It's about 90% of all the energy in your cell is ATP produced. And also, but mitochondria do other things. They balance the calcium balance in your cells so that, having a proper calcium balance is super critical. And also they make pregnenolone. They use LDL cholesterol, the bad cholesterol. It's not bad. It's just what happens is when you get older, your mitochondria can't process. So the LDL that your body produces through other processes isn't being used up. It sits around in your bloodstream until it oxidizes. And once it oxidizes, it'll stick to your arteries and veins and cause those plaques. So once you get your mitochondria running, they'll turn that LDL into pregnenolone, and that pregnenolone is turned into your body into the various hormones. And whatever, if it's in the pineal gland, you're going to get more melatonin. It's a pituitary gland, you're going to get more human growth hormone and lots of other master hormones. And the adrenals, you got mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, the androgens, your thyroid, T3, T4. All of it, it just goes up everywhere. And, and C60 doesn't heal anything. It's what it does, it lifts the oxidative burden that your cells and your mitochondria are under so that they can function the way that they used to be when you were younger. And that's its key thing. But the thing is, C60 is a great addition and additive, but it doesn't replace. You've got to step up to the plate and do all the other things. You got to get your exercise, your diet. And the other thing we haven't mentioned is seed oils. That's one thing that I get off on. All those seed oils, your body, they're super high in omega-6s. They're great for birds. Your body isn't designed to eat it. So the cottonseed oil, the sunflower, peanut oil, canola oil, safflower oil, grapeseed, well, all those oils, right? Any oil that's a seed oil, you shouldn't be eating. You should be eating oils that like olive oil. That's from the fruit. Same with avocado oil and those things. And so that's another little dietary thing. Or coconut oil. Coconut isn't a nut, by the way. It's actually a part of the grass family. But those are good, healthy oils. They got a good omega thing. And one other thing I always talk about, there's really good omega-3 oils. Like actually there is flaxseed. It's a seed, but it has a good omega-3. And then krill and sometimes the fish oils. But whenever you take one of those omega-3 oils, make sure you buy it in the refrigerated section of your health food store. Because if you buy fish oil off the shelf, it's going to be rancid and it's going to jack up your health. That's just a guarantee.
Yeah, fish oils are they were so sold and so blown up for so long, and now people realize that the combination of 6 and 3, the average American, the SAD diet, the standard American diet, is so overloaded with, like you said, seed oils, and then that higher concentration of 6s and 3s that like there's no reason if you're eating clean, you don't even need to take fish oil. There are specific oils, obviously, that you can get that you just mentioned and everything for the MUFA and the PUFA. But like, I remember reading all the articles about fish oil and how big it was, to get a standard ratio of 3, 6, and 9. And now it's like, well, that all changed because people are just ramming seed oils. And again, it's ubiquitous. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Like you said, Ken, like, how do you avoid them? You have to be very, very particular and proactive.
That's great. Well, so I want to circle back to this intermittent fasting thing, because I know it's a big part of what both of you guys do. Just for the folks that are listening. So Ken, you're typically, you skip breakfast, right? And then you eat a really late lunch, or like, how do you achieve that 4 to 6 hour window? What's your specific time frame?
Well, you don't do it immediately. You work up to it. And by the way, I had done various things. I gained a little weight as I got older, and even with C60, and I'd done things like, I did not the 3 whites, no white flour, white sugar, milk, cheese, that thing. I did it all. And, you get to a certain level and then you just hit a plateau. You couldn't get lower than that. But once I discovered intermittent fasting, and then I pushed it down. I got down to the weight that I was in high school. And that's the only thing I've ever found that works. And the key is you've got to get that window down. And shrinking it down, especially it's like 18 hours a day without eating until then you start, because once you get the glycogen goes down in your liver, it'll send out other little messages, and the fat starts dumping out of your body, telling the fat, hey, we need energy. And the first fat that starts dumping is the fat in your liver, because fatty liver disease is just like ubiquitous across the Americans.
Oh, yeah.
So intermittent fasting first fat it's going to work on is that fat in your liver. And once you get that fat out of your liver and other visceral fat inside of you, all your organs are going to go. And when I did intermittent fasting, my digestion improved amazingly well. So I could eat, I could eat Mexican food. You get a little bit of gas afterwards, but intermittent fasting, I ate the same food. No problem. No. So it just, and look at it. Think about what average person does, right? They get up 6, 7 in the morning, right? They eat some food, they have it at lunch, then they have, a snack in the afternoon, and then maybe they have dinner, 8 or 9 or wherever they have it. Then they'll have like the late night snack. Okay. You've got your digestive system working 18 hours a day.
It's insane.
18 hours a day, every day, week after week after week, you would be exhausted. So why do you do that to your digestive system? Right. So what you do, if you let's say you don't eat for 18 hours, I'm in the 4 to 6 hour plan, right? So I don't eat for 18, 20 hours. That gives a chance for my digestive system to recover, right? It did the work. Now it can repair itself. It can fix itself. It can get all the pancreas can reset and all the other things. And because actually the small intestine is actually also a hormone producing organ. And that thing needs to be shut off for a good long time and in the rest cycle, because otherwise it'll just kick in. And I've done, just to let you know, I've had the same meal. Let's say sometime I'm bad, I'll do like an 8 hour, I'll have like an 8 hour food window, right? Just because I ate late for some reason, right? It happens. And then I will gain weight. Whereas I can eat the exact same meal on the 4 hour plan and I lose weight. And so that's really, really important. But I think Jay can probably talk more about that.
Well, those are all very well said. I mean, not much more to really add other than just say, look, I've written 2 books on intermittent fasting. The Blowtorch Diet is the 3rd highest rated book ever sold on Amazon for intermittent fasting. Again, another book that has over 500 5-star reviews. And the entire book is based on alternate day fasting, right? So, I had my own intermittent fasting protocol that I created with my private clients in my the mid to late 2000s, when I was starting to dabble in like personal training and nutritional consulting. And a lot of people said to me like, hey man, can you like make something like deeper? So I created a white paper. And then, in 2017, they were like, you got to write a book. So that came together in a month. But I mean, I was very familiar with the research, and, Dr. Jason Fung has written 2 amazing books, the fasting book and then the obesity code, both great books, all about fasting. And one of the research studies in that book, the obesity code, was this rare, obscure study from I think it was Finland, where they did alternate day fasting for about 6 weeks. And the results were insane. Like, you literally could eat whatever the hell you wanted on the day that you didn't eat. And then the next day, not eat, and you would never gain any body fat. And if anything, again, you would increase autophagy and hormesis in the days that you were fasting, and all of those, biochemical and molecular cascades that, again, as you talked about, Ken, helps recover, restore, adapt the body. Again, it's like a fumigation of the body's cells, right? Mm-hmm. So you're constantly, fasting and eating, and then fasting and eating, and your body just never catches up, right? So the body is constantly in upregulation mode. Like you said, Ken, you never get static. You never hit, areas where you just, you're at a plateau. So the body just keeps upregulating, thyroid, again, all these different hormones are upregulating, downregulating, upregulating, downregulating. But the only thing that I would say is to really make it even more effective, is why my book was so well received, is you train with weights on the days that you eat, and on the days that you fast, you do your cardio.
Okay. Yeah. You read my mind. That was the next question I was going to ask you. How do you balance in your workouts when you're not eating?
Okay. So it's very, very simple. Okay. And again, this is why this book has sold so well, and why thousands of people around the world have gotten results from it. The days that you eat is when you're obviously glycogen full, right? You're not pounding down carbs, but if you're eating clean carbs, less refined food, you're eating like yams and oatmeal and, good brown rice or quinoa or something like that, something that will replenish glycogen. You can obviously train much more robust than you can if you're fasting, when you don't really have the glycogen stores. Now, sure, your body can run on ketones if you're, becoming metabolically flexible, but you're not going to get the same results lifting, again, doing resistance training, explosive movements, that you would if you were eating carbohydrates versus eating, like a ketone or a ketotic diet or whatever. So on the days though that you fast, so again, the day you eat is the day that you lift weights. Okay. The next day when you fast, you will do low intensity aerobic work, which would be like whatever form of cardio. You might hike in a mountain, maybe you walk on an incline, maybe you're like me and you ride a life cycle or a Peloton. But you're doing low impact, moderate intensity cardiovascular movement to increase the body's utilization of free fatty acids, right? Which is what it's running off when it's fasting. Okay. So I actually, as a hack, I tell people, especially if you have a lot of weight to lose, on your fasting days, you do cardio in the morning, right when you wake up. You're probably 7, 8, 9, 10 hours into a fast, depending on what time you stopped eating. If you listen to this podcast, you stopped eating by 7:30 or 8, right? So if you do cardio at 7 o'clock in the morning, you're in a 10-hour, 11-hour fast window now, actually longer. And then you do another cardio session at night before you break your fast. So you've given your body the biochemical cascades before you initiate your second cardio session, again, of autophagy and hormesis, which, as Ken said very correctly, you are literally at that point, your body is in fight or flight mode. Mm-hmm. So the body is releasing epinephrine and norepinephrine and the other catecholamine messenger signals to attack the stubborn body fat. So like if you're a man or a woman and you hold fat in your hips or your butt, your upper back or wherever it is, that 18 to 19 to 20 hour fast, that's when you do that cardio. And that's when you're going to actually target what are called the alpha 2 receptors, which are the stubborn body fat areas in your body. So again, depending on where you're a man or woman, we all hold it different. Dudes hold it right around the belly button, right? But that's where the fat will be released. So, again, you're not doing, people always ask me like, well, what kind of intensity? Am I doing interval training? No, you're not doing interval training when you're fasting because you do not want to break down muscle, which will then create glucose, which then will obviously A, knock you out of your fast, and B, possibly break down muscle, which you never want when you're fasting, right? You want your body running off stored body fat, again, which will either be ketones or free fatty acids or both. So that second cardio session, I like to tell people, you're getting hungry, you want to break your fast, but you should do at least 30 minutes and perhaps 45. And if you don't have time, you're stressed, you do 20, 25 minutes of that cardio, again, at a moderate intensity. I usually tell people to do like 125 to 135 heart rate. Again, you can have a conversation and do the cardio and then break your fast. And you will definitely get the enhancement from doing that second cardio session when you're fasted in breaking down the stubborn body fat.
That's awesome. Really great hacks, you guys. Let's shift gears a little bit, Jay, because I know on this path that you've been on, you've come across I want to call it a discovery to help support hair growth. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your journey in that space.
For sure. So I have a company, Aseir Custom. Aseir is Norse mythological term that actually means the old gods. People have no idea how to pronounce that. Nick decided on that name, and I told him when he made that name, I'm like, bro, what in the hell are you doing? And, it's a pet name. He's all big into the Norse gods, which actually now I think it's the greatest name ever because we don't have to be worried about some suing us for some, unique brand trademark name, right? Because who the hell even knows what Aseir is? 90% of people can't, pronounce the word. I do podcasts and people say Aseir. So anyway, Aseir Custom.
Okay.
There you go. Aseir, you're one of the few. Aseir Custom is a cosmeceutical peptides company that my co-founder partner, which Ken is very familiar with, Nick Andrews, and I founded in November of 2019, literally out of Nick's basement, which it's almost finally out of Nick's basement.
Congrats, Nick.
And we started off with a serum and cream, which is created through the use of copper peptide GHKCU, which, as Ken knows, is a revolutionary peptide compound. Probably nothing like it, actually, of all the peptides. Even the new peptides that they discover still don't do as much. There's untold volumes of clinical research on what GHKCU does to restore the face and skin and cuticles and the dermis, the first level of the dermis. I mean, it's amazing in its restorative and revitalizing quality. So anyway, Nick started making this cream and eventually it became a serum and a cream to protect his face from his MMA sparring. So, he's 44, I think now. He just turned 44. Actually, he just turned 44 in May. But, he was getting beat up. The ghee was just tearing his face up. So he, is a biochemical formulator and a brilliant guy. He was like, well, I can fix this. I'll make something myself. So he started using it and he was like, this is insane. So he sent it to me and he said, hey, man, have your wife use this. Him and I are always friends. We've been friends. We met on Twitter like 6 years ago. And he said, and I was like, dude, why? He's like, just have her use it. Right. So she started using it and it was just like, Jay, this is insane. She's like, are you guys going to sell this? And I'm like, well, should I? And she was like, yes. So that was like, October through November. I'm sorry, September through, or even August through November. And then we launched at the end of November 2019. We probably were selling, $8,000 to $10,000 a month in sales, to my email list. We were basically not promoting it. We had no marketing. And then when you know it, there's no coincidences in the universe. We launched the hair growth product in June 5th. Now there is a backstory to that. One of my listeners, reached out to me and he was like, hey man, check this out. And he sent me a picture and he goes, I've been using tailor-made to compounding pharmacies, GHKCU. And he's like, look at my hair. And the dude had a complete giant bald patch in the middle of the top of his head. And after 6 weeks, it was gone. I mean, his hair had completely regrown back. So he sent that to me and Nick, or he sent it to me first and he said, send it to Nick. And he said, you guys got to start making this. And so, we're like, dude, are you BSing us? Is this real? He's like, dude, it's real. So then we started playing around with it, and obviously we came up with version 1, which launched on literally the same day, June 5th of last year. So we're almost a year out, that Ben Greenfield decided to promote our face and serum, our serum and cream. Now we did not know he was going to do that. We had absolutely no idea. he had asked me, hey, man, I heard you have a serum and cream like back in February. He said, can you send me some? I'll test it out. I was like, absolutely. Send it to him. And he launched it that day. And on that day is when we launched the Oxano. So subsequently, it's been a huge hit. We have obviously thousands of people now using it around the world that have, literally, as myself included, regrown their hair. I mean, I could show you guys a screenshot. It's pretty prevalent. They can go to the website and they can see the story. But I mean, I was bald. I mean, I have a henna tattoo right here.
Do you want to show the audience?
Yeah, I can. I absolutely can. I mean, it is a totally profound. This is actually the newest one.
Okay.
But yeah, totally profound regrowth product. And obviously it's part carbon 60.
Yeah.
Yep. Part carbon 60. And, as I always tell people, like, this is real hair. And then that was the henna tattoo, which you can see clearly through there. And so, yeah. So, I mean, that picture was taken in, I want to say this was March of last year.
Okay. And when's this haircut's your current one right now?
So I started, true story. When we first launched Oxano, I didn't even have it because it was selling so fast. I couldn't even get it. Now I got it in August, at the end of August, and I only had literally one order. We couldn't keep it in stock. And then, we launched version 2 in November, and Ken knows this, every single bottle that we shipped out broke. We had, it was the Kansas City is where our logistics operation is. And they had that cold snap back in December, and all of the peptide, the GHKCU expanded in the neck and broke the bottles.
Oh no.
So for literally 2 months, I was waking up every day to people with emails, with purple, the purple GHK solution leaked all over the place. And they're like, bro, so that almost literally killed us, but we escaped. And here we are today. We had our biggest month ever in April. And pacing like not as big a month this month, but a very healthy month. And now we have all the A-list podcasts that we're about to make the rounds on. We have 5 more products coming, including a clinical version of this, which is actually, according to Nick, and we have, technically there was 9, but now there's 8 people because one person just dropped out. But we have 8 people in a clinical study, and the results they're getting are insane. So we are a disruptive company for sure to the hair loss industry. As I told you guys, we have an A-list podcast coming. And then, I know there'll be more A-list podcasts after that. And we have an 8,300 word article that's also going to run on an A-list site that basically disproves the DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone theory of hair loss. We now know that is completely backward. Ken knows that. But I mean, Big Pharma has gone down this route for 35 years. And I hate saying it, but, ripping men off and women, thinking that if they inhibited their dihydrotestosterone, which is possibly the dumbest thing you could ever do, it would prevent hair loss. And now we know that it not only doesn't, it makes people sexually dysfunctional. Again, you are literally disrupting the natural rhythms of hormones. Why would you do that, right? So men have sexual dysfunction. There's all sorts of other side effects. I mean, I could go on. It's really, really nasty. But we now know that DHT inhibition is a secondary or tertiary effect downstream, when you do this. So again, ultimately, you're not attacking the root cause of hair loss, which we now know is inflammation, right? Microinflammations in the scalp, poor blood flow due to lifestyle, oxidative stress. There's a lot of other things. So now we know, like, how do you solve hair loss? Well, obviously our solution is one of the primary ingredients because GHKCU increases angiogenesis. It increases blood flow to the scalp. It suppresses topical inflammation, again, from the microinflammations. And then your amazing product is like acting like a super, oxidative dismutase and sucking all of it in through the scalp. So you have this insane synergistic effect where you're getting blood flow and regrowth of the actual hair. And the craziest thing is, and this is what we've discovered, is that even people with a genetic predisposition to hair loss, which is me, my mom's dad was bald, and there's a bunch of brothers in my family that all have this. I've completely regrown my hair over a genetic predisposition. Now, obviously, epigenetic factors matter, right? But ultimately, if you use this and then live the life that that Ken and I have been talking about in this show, you will regrow your hair. It doesn't matter. I would say this: if people go on our website, after the show, and they read the reviews are, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Or you're a scammer. You ripped me off. This doesn't work. And again, if you don't live a clean lifestyle and your scalp is full of inflammation, you're not going to get results from this. But if you do live a clean lifestyle, you're going to get dramatic results. I mean, we've had people literally who are like, this is insane. How do we invest in the company?
Well, hair loss and hair growth is, it's so important for people to feel good and look good and, be their best. But I really appreciate what you said, because you really have to it's not one thing, you have to do everything. You have to incorporate, healthy nutrition. You have to get good sleep. You have to get sunshine. You have to drink clean, pure water. You have to exercise. You incorporate the intermittent fasting into your lifestyle. You're going to help balance out your hormones. And so all of these kind of work hand in hand to help you.
Actually, let me just share one more thing real quick here so you guys can know where so this is the biggest mistake that we made in the company. And you just nailed it, by the way, Jess. But who Oxano will not optimally work for.
I'm so glad you're sharing this. Thank you. And this would be the same for C60 Purple Power, likely.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to do healthy lifestyle choices.
You have to do the work, as I say, right? But people
there's no drug. There's no
people living an inflammatory lifestyle. What does that mean? High stress, smoking, poor sleep habits, high consumption of junk food, alcohol, seed oils, and sugar.
Yeah.
Now, how many people instantly are eliminated if they read that and not buy this, right? I mean, people with high levels of body fat, and then there's, of course, certain disease conditions like COPD and metabolic disease, insulin resistant, blah, 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 right? But that's because poor blood flow. So again, if you are systemically inflamed, you are not a good candidate unless you do the things that you just said and that me and Ken have been saying. Again, reduce your body fat, reduce your inflammation, increase your exercise, clean up your diet, use carbon-60. Now let me add, that's something that, we can't even account for, but obviously, I mean, I promote it, I recommend it, I'm promoting for you guys. I mean, the ultimate at the end of the day, like, you should be using carbon-60 in your diet. Now, there's some people out there that say that, carbon-60, and I won't mention the names, but they're close friends of mine. They're like, oh yeah, but it's finite life because it's carbon-based. And I'm like, okay, fine. We are carbon-based. Right? Like when I can leave my body and become etheric, and not astrally travel, and I have control over that, maybe then I'll debate you, right? And I'll say maybe, okay, cool, right? But like for now, and I want to mention this obviously, and I did in my email to my list, and I have been for a long time. My little rat dog Simba, which is a Yorkie mix, he is alive because of carbon-60. There is absolutely no doubt that he would be long gone. Ken, the story with, Nick's cat, right? So, I mean, like, if people are actually watching the show, buying your guys' products, and they're not feeding their house cats or house dogs, their domesticated animals, carbon-60, as I said in my email,
there's a missed opportunity there to help your pets.
You don't love your animals. Mobility,
enough. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm dead serious. I mean, my dogs and both I have a pit bull who's amazing. It's my spirit animal. He's bossed around by our little rat dog who's much older. But our rat dog has, Monica said this to me yesterday. She's like, my God, carbon-60 gave him 3 more years. So imagine the love, right, that you get from your animals that you're going to get by giving them carbon-60. I mean, like, that's what I mean this. I'm not being a shill. Like, I've never seen anything more profound than what carbon-60 does for animals. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, we have a line for pets specifically because we got so many people asking, can I give this to my dog, my cat, my horse? And we're like, you absolutely can. So, it's amazing for both people and our pets and helps us all live a more optimized life. So Jay, how can our listeners get Aseir? They just need to go to your website. What's the best method here?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So they can go to aseircustom.com. There's 3 products now. And I'll just tell you, let people get excited. We have, the Royal Blue Serum goes on first. The cream goes on second. A lot of people use red light therapy. And by the way, these are all on the website now, but, you use red light therapy in between putting the serum, which is water-based, and the cream, which is, a goat's milk-based oil after. And, there's obviously lots of different ways that red light, enhances GHKCU copper peptide. But what we have coming is a brow and lash serum, which is going to be insane.
I can't wait to get that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we have women that use Oxano on their eyelashes now, and they're like, dude, it's like gorilla. You can't, it grows so fast. So, that's coming. And then we also have Oxano Lip, which is going to be a moisturizer and a lip pumper, natural, again, with GHK. Yeah, phenomenal. And then beyond that, we have Oxano Ageless, which no BS. And of course, Monica has already used it. From a testing standpoint, it literally is as strong as Botox without any neurotoxicity. So no topical toxins or botulism or any of that bullshit, that people get when they, take the Botox jab. And then, we'll have Oxano Beard for dudes. And I think the last product that we're going to have is going to be a conditioner. So it'll be, you take a shower at night and it's a leave-in and you go to bed. So a lot of people, when they get the regrowth, like for example, like guys are already, and plenty of women too, are like, dude, I've regrown my hair completely, but I want to keep it. What's my maintenance? I don't want to keep using it because I got to get my hair cut every 10 days. So, we're like, okay, yeah, we hear you. So what we're going to create, Nick's working on it right now, is literally a leave-in conditioner when you get out of the shower at night that you leave into your scalp. And that's all you'll need. And then, for a lot of people, it's kind of cool because the product is definitely expensive. I mean, relative to the results, it's cheap. Especially compared to the competition, which is, destroying people's hormones and not working, actually making their hair fall out. We're going to just say, hey, you only have to put it on in the morning. So the conditioner will be what you put on at night, when you go to bed. And again, you don't have to do it twice a day. For people that are really looking for aggressive replacement and regrowth, use it twice a day. But I mean, I only use it once a day, and this is the truth. I mean, I showed you guys that picture. I literally, since we were rebirthed from the dead on March 14th, because we literally took the product off the shelves. We couldn't get bottles. Ken knows. I mean, we could not get bottles from China. It's still all the COVID shipping nonsense.
Yep.
So when we finally got our bottles and, redid it and launched, it wasn't until March 14th. I did not even get the product until March 28th. So today is literally 2 months of consecutive use of my hair. And as you can see, it's magical.
It's looking great. Congrats.
I mean, every time like I told you guys, I just got a cut yesterday and I have, this is the serum B, right? So it's a little tiny, the grape seeds, extract. So it's kind of oily. People that use it, love it because they say, oh, I don't have to put product in my hair anymore. So it's less product because this keeps it kind of a wet look and, it gives me texture and stuff. So it's amazing. It really is, and again, all props to Nick, for figuring this out. He's a brilliant formulator.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. We are looking forward to your great success because
thank you. I appreciate it.
It's going to help a lot of people.
And obviously Ken has helped us, by the way, because, he's given us tons of wisdom and counsel, and he helped Nick, understand how to formulate, carbon 60, himself, which he didn't have any clue of initially.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you, Ken. All right, guys, we're getting close to the end of our time here, Jay. I know you've got to move on. Any final parting words of wisdom for our audience around what they should do to support men's hormone health?
Yeah. And again, I appreciate you guys having me on today. I'm happy to do this whenever. And, Ken's podcast is about to go, which is actually really good soon too. Being proactive, Ken already said it, becoming the scientist of your own health. Yeah. No one is coming to save you. There is no doctor. No one is out there is going to look and safeguard your health. It has to be you. So, what are you going to do? You're obviously going to, clean up your nutrition. As Ken said, stop eating seed oils. I mean, don't buy anything that's in a box on a grocery store. If you eat that, you're contaminating your body. Be careful and be cautious, obviously, of the, again, biochemical onslaught. Put a filter in your shower. If you're in a 1-bedroom apartment, if you're in a house, spend the money to get a filtration system. Again, clean up your diet dramatically. Don't eat carbohydrates after 6 o'clock if you have a lot of body fat to lose. Start considering practicing 2 days a week of intermittent fasting, where eventually you'll get to like what Ken and I do, where you fast literally either every day or every other day. Right? I mean, those are the kind of things you do. Obviously, use carbon 60. If you're absolutely decimated and you are at a testosterone level of 50 or 100 or something like that. And you are already trying all the natural things, then you can consider doing therapeutic testosterone. I still think it's a great, adjuvant, again, when everything else is being done right. But that's pretty much it. For people that want to get more from me, I do give away whenever I do a podcast, I have a link. It's JAY and then the middle initial C Campbell, my last name, .com/free books. And you'll get a free copy of the Testosterone Optimization Therapy Bible PDF. And then of course, a free copy of the Blowtorch Diet book, which is amazing, again, from a fasting book. And then there's also 2 spirituality PDFs on there now too, that are really good about raising your consciousness.
That's huge. We'll post those links here in the show notes too. So thank you for that generous offer, Jay.
Sure.
Ken, any final parting words of wisdom for our listeners?
No, I think pretty much what's been said is what people need to do. It's just the main thing is just to get off your ass and make it happen, because if you don't, it just won't happen.
That's exactly right.
Take responsibility for your health.
Be proactive.